Tetti here, Tetti Roofing, and in this video, we're going to break down the 3 levels of roofing contractors. So if you're shopping currently to have a new roof put on your house, you're going to want to listen and learn about the 3 different types of roofing contractors that you're going to come across. Now, there's a roofing contractor for everybody. As a homeowner, you may feel comfortable with a level 1 roofer, or you may feel comfortable with a level 3 roofer. Well, what's the difference between a level 1 and a level 3? Well, we're going to go through that in this video. We're going to break it down so you can decide on what type of contractor you want to hire. So when you're getting quotes, you're not completely shocked when you're getting prices as low as $9,000 and upwards of $30,000 for the same roof. It's mind-boggling because they're putting on the same exact materials most of the time, not all the time. That's what we're going to talk about. But most of the time, they're going to give you the same material. So why is there such a price discrepancy? And we're going to break that down in this video. So the first level, level 1, we call them chuck in a truck roofing contractors. And this really goes for any home service business. This is not just for roofing. And just to give you some context here, how do I know this? Well, I've been in home services for 22 years. I built a leading industry company in the environmental space, residential oil tank services. The name of the company is called Simple Tank Services. If you look them up, you check them out, you'll see my videos and my face all over that business. I sold that business back in 2022. The most complex business to operate, especially in the state of New Jersey, because you're dealing with DEP oversight, is in the environmental space. And I was able to scale that business and grow the industry leading company with north of 800 Google reviews. So I'm very proud of that business. I decided to get into roofing after doing some consulting with home service companies, helping them grow with marketing, finance, operations. And I came across the roofing space. Now, I have some experience in homes because I've rehabbed over 24 homes back in 2018. We purchased these houses. We did full gut renovations, added levels, some ground up construction as well. We did 24 of those over a 3-year period. I come across a ton of contractors, so much so that I actually just launched a new podcast called Jersey Home Pro Podcast, where I'm interviewing local home service contractors for New Jersey homeowners. We vet these contractors and we want to work with contractors who are going to do the right thing by the homeowner. They're not going to charge egregious numbers. They're not going to come in with high pressure sales tactics. They're going to give good quality customer service. They're going to answer the phone. They're going to return calls when they're supposed to. They're going to send you a proposal when they say that. They're going to actually invoice you for what they quote you. They're going to do the right thing. The type of contractors that I would hire for my home is who we're going to premiere on our podcast. So you can check it out. We have 4 episodes as of right now. This is early January. The plan is to have north of 50 to 100 contractors in this directory by the end of 2026. So let's get into the roofing contractors. And again, this goes for any home service company specifically, but we're going to talk about roofing because that's what we're at now, right? So chuck in the truck roofer. What is a chuck in the truck roofer? A chuck in the truck is a guy who is basically just has a van or has a pickup truck and he started an LLC. He's got the minimal amount of insurance and he is out there saying he can do roofs. And maybe he can, and maybe he has a lot of experience in roofing. It's very well possible. The problem is what happens with chuck in a truck roofers, they typically will fall in the 95 percentile of contractors that don't make it past the first 5 years of business, which is a major red flag if you're putting a roof on, because if you have an issue in year 6 and this company is no longer in business, you're kind of SOL, as they say, right? So you want to make sure that if you're going to go this route, which again, I'm not going to say that you shouldn't hire a chuck in the truck. If that's the type of contractor you like to work with and you're not worried about warranties and whether or not he'll answer the phone and whether or not he'll be in business in 5 years, you want to count your pennies and save every dollar possible, then you can go this route and hire a chuck in a truck roofing company. The things that you need to be aware of is that, most of the time they're one-man operations. So you're getting a guy that's going to ring to his cell phone. Maybe he answers, maybe he doesn't. Most likely he's going to take days to answer your calls or days to get you a proposal. They're not super efficient because they're running on their own. They can only do so much, right? The thing is they have minimal overhead. Obviously, they don't really have an office. They don't have an admin staff. They don't have a sales rep. They don't have anybody to kind of help them. They have no team behind them. So of course their prices could be super low because it's really just them and they have a subcontractor that they sub out the work to. So a lot of times they're cash based, right? So these contractors, they're not going to offer you financing. So they're going to say, yeah, it's 10 grand, 15 grand, whatever the number is, and you're going to have to pay them cash. Sometimes they'll take your deposit and you won't hear from them again. That does happen in the industry. Unfortunately, it happens in all home services. So you got to be aware of that. Are you willing to take that chance with hiring this chuck in a truck roofing contractor who may take your deposit and never return your call? They don't have any office. We talked about that. No admin staff. The money goes basically to materials and labor to put the roof on. That's where the money goes. That's about it. They have maybe a small profit they make. Maybe they're making $500, $1,000. And for one man operation, he's thinking made $500 for the day. I'm good. I don't need to make any more than that. But again, you're not getting the warranties that are going to back up that install. You're not getting the contractor that most likely will be in business in the next 5 years. So what you're missing is long-term warranty backing, no documentation. They're not going to give you a report. They're not going to give you warranty information after the fact. You're not going to get dedicated supervision. You're going to get one guy, essentially. You're going to deal with that one guy, whoever he is. And hopefully he's still around when you have an issue. They're going to have minimal insurance because they like to keep their overhead really low and it's just them. So they can carry the minimal amount of insurance. And again, they just don't have the staying power. So plain English, the easiest way to explain this, roofers can be cheaper because they're not paying for a company. They're paying for labor, materials, and hoping nothing goes wrong later. So again, if that's your contractor and you're comfortable working with guys like that, then that's a level 1 roofer. There's a ton of them out there. They're not certified by the manufacturer. They're not giving warranties. If you look up the certification, you could just look this up in ChatGPT. There's thousands of roofers and about 70% of them are not certified. So they just run willy-nilly. They go to the supply house, they buy the materials, or they go to Home Depot, they buy the materials, and they're slapping them on your roof. That's what you're going to get with a level 1 roofer. All right, let's get into a level 2 roofer. This is a local professional roofing company. Now, for a 25 square roof, you're probably going to pay somewhere between $16,000 to $22,000. And these are, guys, everything depends on your home, right? So don't take these for gospel. We have to see what your roof looks like. We got to get our eyes on it in order to give you a price, right? So these are just general ideas of pricing. Why does this contractor charge more? Well, they're fully licensed and insured. They're going to be certified by the manufacturer. Okay, that's important because with the certification, you're able to get the extended warranties. They have an office staff, whether they're remote or they're in-house, they have some people in the office to be able to help them out with the paperwork, the documentation, the invoicing. They're going to be able to operate a real business. You're dealing with a real business. They have dedicated project managers. They're sending out a project manager who is going to be in charge of your job. If you have any issues on that project, you could deal with the project manager. And then if something goes wrong with that project manager or you have an issue on site, you could escalate it up to senior management or the owner of the business at that point if you have to. They're going to be able to get permits and inspections when required. Now in New Jersey, permits are not typically required unless you're doing major structural work on the roof. You're not going to get a permit just to rip off shingles and put new shingles on the roof. But circumstances, you live in a townhouse, you may require a permit. A level 2 contractor is going to be able to apply for that permit. They're not going to try to skip around it and get it done without the proper permits. You're going to get a workmanship warranty. I have other videos about warranties, but workmanship warranty is the warranty that's issued by the company itself. It's for the labor work, not the manufacturer warranty. This is the actual labor work that's being done. So it's the company that's going to stand behind this. And again, I talk about this in our warranty video, and we dive into why it's important to have 3 warranties if you really want the max protection, because if something happens, God forbid, to the company you hire, that workmanship warranty goes out the window. You can't do anything if the company's no longer a business. So workmanship warranty is for the labor work itself. Hypothetically, let's say the shingles weren't installed properly and your shingles blow off your house in year 3 after the install. Well, if you don't have a workmanship warranty, you have to pay out of pocket to get that repair done. And that could be a couple $1,000s just to get a repair work done. So you want to make sure you're working with a company that offers a proper workmanship warranty. So where does the money go for a level 2 roofing company? They're going to provide quality materials. They're not cutting corners. They're not giving you inferior materials. They're giving you quality materials. A lot of these manufacturers offer you warranty. They require that you install up to 3 accessories along with the shingle that you choose. So you're not going to get that from a level 1 roofing contractor. You're going to get that from a level 2 contractor, professionally run company. They're going to offer you a full warranty from the manufacturer, and they're going to give you that option so you're completely protected. You're getting skilled crews. You're getting crews that have done this, thousands of times, hundreds of times installing roofs. So you're getting skilled labor. You're getting dedicated project manager. You're getting proper insurance. Why is that important? You got guys working on your roof. If somebody falls off your roof when they're putting on your roof, God forbid that happens, and the company you hired is a level 1 roof chuck in a truck roofer, you're, again, SOL. I mean, what are you going to do? This labor could possibly potentially sue you because they got hurt on your property. So you want to make sure that you're with the right contractor who has the right insurance. Okay, you're going to get the warranty support. If you have an issue with workmanship warranty, you're going to get the company that's going to be around long term. Like I said, I've been in home services for 22 years. I'm not going anywhere. Tetti Roofing is not going anywhere. You want to make sure that this company will be around when you do potentially have a workmanship warranty. Hopefully you don't, but if you do, you want to make sure you're protected. So the overhead that protects the homeowner, again, you're going to be paying a little bit more because you have to be able to support the overhead. To run a proper business, there are overhead costs that a lot of homeowners don't really think about, but there are overhead costs, proper insurance, proper employees, proper lease for facilities, for your office staff, your warehouse. There are overhead costs to run a professionally run business. It's not a chuck and truck who's running out of his house who just has a van with zero overhead. And so that's where the price has to come up in order to cover that. If you can't cover your overhead, you can't stay in business. If you're not staying in business, you're not going to be able to stand behind your warranties. So that's why you're going to pay a little bit more. So you're buying accountability. You're buying clear communication. A professionally run company, you could pick up the phone and call them at any time. You could text them. You could call them. You're going to get a fast response. You're not going to get delayed responses. You're going to get excellent communication from a professionally run company. And you're going to get good pricing. It's not going to be super high. You're not going to get taken advantage of. You're going to get good pricing, quality workmanship warranties, quality manufacturer warranties, and also bonding. Professionally run companies should offer you bonding. And again, this is in our warranty video, and you can watch that as well, but you want to understand about the bonding, and it's important that you get that. That sits on top of the workmanship warranty and also the manufacturer's warranty. Very important. So plain English explanation. What does this mean? You're paying more because the risk is off your shoulders and it's on the companies. You go for a chuck in a truck, you take all the risk. Yeah, you're saving a couple thousand maybe, but you have all this risk and liability potential. God forbid someone falls off the roof. God forbid you have an issue with the install a couple years later. It falls on you. You're going to pay out of pocket. So you might save a little bit up front, but most of the time, as if you're a homeowner and you've been a homeowner for more than a couple of years and you've hired contractors, you probably understand already that hiring the cheapest guy is not the best option. I'm sure you've run into it in some industry, whether that's HVAC, plumbing, electrical, flooring, painting. I don't care who you hired, siding, windows. You've run into hiring the cheapest guy because we all do it. When we first become homeowners, we try to hire the cheapest guy, right? We want to save that money, but that's usually what costs the most. In the end, it winds up costing you the most money. Now let's talk about level 3. You're going to know what a level 3 contractor is right away, and we're going to talk about that, how you can spot them. You may like to work with level 3 contractors. Maybe you don't mind. Maybe this is the way that you like to buy. It's not the way that I buy. It's not the way that I run my business. But a lot of homeowners hire companies like this, obviously, right? Because they do exist and they do pretty well. But here's level 3. You're going to pay an astronomical amount of money to get the same job done. And they're going to give you a song and dance on how they have more money behind them. So they're going to be around longer, yada, yada, yada. And that's why you're paying the significant amount of money. And a lot of times what they do is they pressure you into closing. And that's one of the first red flags. Number 1, red flag. If you call into to get a proposal and you get someone to call you back, they call you back almost instantly, like very fast. And now the first thing they're going to tell you is, we're going to come to your house. You need to be home. I want both decision makers to be there. Red flag. If you have a contractor telling you, you must have both decision makers there, both people who live in that home who make the decision on all expensive purchases, that's a red flag. The reason why they want that is because they want you to be able to basically make the decision and have no excuse to get out of making a decision right then and there. They come out to your home. They want to present to you in the home with both decision makers. They're going to spend anywhere from an hour and a half to 3 hours putting on a huge presentation for you. They're going to get to know your pets. They want to get to know your kids. They want to literally break bread at your dining room table and put on a massive presentation on how they're the best and how what they do is the best and yada, yada, yada. And then when it comes down to pricing, what they're going to typically do is give you what's called an anchor price. What is an anchor price? They're going to shock you with a super high price. For example, they may say, hey, this roof is going to be $65,000. Now you're blown away because you had in your mind, you've done some research online that it should cost about 20. And you're thinking 60,000, what? There's no way I can't afford that. And they say, oh, no. Well, here we have these promotions and really that's not the roof for you. You want this roof. And then they start putting your eyes on the focus of the next level, which is roughly about 45,000. So it's still double of what you were expecting to pay, but it's a lot cheaper than 65. So now you start to think, all right, well, it's definitely getting better. And, they want to pitch you with financing. They like to talk about financing before, even if you don't need it. They want to break it down in terms of monthly payments, so it seems more affordable. And they try to divert your attention from the actual total cost of the project. And they could come in and they could charge you upwards of $30,000 to do a job that you could be getting done for $15,000. And that's all going to their bottom line. And why do they need to make that kind of money? Why do they have to charge an exorbitant amount of money? It's because they have high commissions. They have professionally trained salesmen or saleswomen that come out to your home. These people are role playing every single day in their business. And how do I know this? Because I've done consulting with these companies. This is how they operate. They literally role play. What does that mean? They practice on how to manipulate the homeowner to saying yes, essentially, and not taking no for an answer. So it's very high pressure. So if this is the type of contractor that you like to work with and you feel safe working with somebody who's in control and, is charging these egregious amounts of money, then go for level 3. I mean, they're out there. They're what's called private equity backed companies. The only thing that they care about is the bottom line, because why? That bottom line determines the value of their business. And what do? They invest in these companies with the determination that they're going to grow the bottom line, because the bottom line is what determines the value. So they want to flip these companies. So the only thing they care about is making more money off of you as a homeowner. They don't care about making a relationship with you. They don't care about any of that stuff. They care about the bottom line. So that is a level 3 contractor. Beware of this type of contractor. Look out for those red flags. If you're feeling high pressure, if you're feeling that they're requiring you to come and sit at your dinner table with you and the other decision maker in the home, these are the red flags that you got to look out for. And again, if you're comfortable working with these types of companies, I'm not saying they're bad. They're just going to pay the absolute most amount of money to get a roof done at your house or any type of home service. You're going to pay the absolute highest amount of money. And if you're okay with that, then level 3 roofing contractor is for you. Talk to this one call close. One call close is they want to come to your house and they don't want to leave. They don't want to take a no for an answer. So we talked a little bit about that. It's very aggressive marketing spend. I mean, these guys will spend upwards of $2,000 to acquire a customer. What does that mean? They're literally, to get your job, they're going to spend upwards of $2,000. So they're outspending the competition in marketing. And that's why they have to charge these higher numbers. So eventually you're just paying for their marketing spend because they're out there just outbidding for the leads. They don't care how they get the leads. They're buying leads on these open markets. And you're going in, this is when you're going into a website and you're putting in, get me 3 roofing quotes. And now your information is being spread and being sold to these roofing contractors who are bidding against each other to upwards of $2,000. So why do you think they want to pressure you to get into to sell and get your money? Because they just paid $2,000 to sit at your kitchen table. It literally cost them $2,000 to get that lead. So now they're going to try to pressure you, because if they leave there, that's not good, right? So they want to make sure they can get the sale. So if you're feeling pressured, this is a level 3 contractor. Just beware. They talk about financing. We touched on that a little bit. Where investor profit expectations. I spoke about that as well. So where does the money really go? You're paying this egregious amount of money. You're paying $30,000 to get a roof done when it really should probably cost you 15. You're paying in sales commissions. The sales guys that come to your home, they are commission based. They get paid 100% commission. Typically a 10% commission is what goes to the sales rep. They need to, in order to pay their sales rep 10%, they got to be able to make that money. So they have to charge more money to cover the cost. Marketing and lead costs. We talked about that. Corporate overhead. I mean, they have an egregious corporate overhead because they have all this middle management and training. Insane on how these companies operate. And again, they need to cover that overhead. So they have to charge accordingly. That's why you, the homeowner, pays twice as much to get a roof done by a level 3 roofing contractor. So what homeowners often don't realize, you're not paying more because the roof is better. You're paying because the sales system is expensive. That's what you're paying for. You're paying for all the training, all the marketing, all the overhead. You are paying for that as a homeowner. You have to decide which level contractor you want to hire when you are hiring a roofing contractor. That's the breakdown. 3 levels. If you guys have any questions in reference to hiring a residential roofing contractor and which level would you like to work with, you could reach out to myself. You could call me at the office. You could text me 908-617-1544 anytime with any questions whatsoever. We're out of Bridgewater. We cover pretty much anywhere within a 20-mile radius of Bridgewater. We will go further than that, but our home market is 20-mile radius of Bridgewater, New Jersey, and I look forward to working with you guys.